This is the Osmo Pocket 3 from DJI. In this video, I'm going to walk you through every setting and feature of this unique camera gimbal combo. Let's start with the physical features of the camera. Moving from top to bottom, we have our camera here with the large 1-inch sensor. The camera is attached to the gimbal, and the gimbal has 3 motors. Right here, we have the tilt motor, and that moves the camera up and down. Right here we have the roll motor, and that controls the horizontal movement of the camera. So if I have it pointing straight ahead, I move the handle off to either side, and it keeps the camera nice and level. The third motor here is the pan motor, and that controls the left and right movement of the camera. There are 3 microphones, one on the right side, one on the back in the center, and one here on the left side. This is the rotatable touchscreen. Right now it's vertical, you can use it like that, or if you flip it, you can go horizontal and it automatically turns on the camera, which is pretty cool. Right below the touchscreen is the speaker. To the left of the speaker is the status LED. When the status LED is solid green, that means the camera is ready to use. The LED turns off temporarily when you take a photo. When it blinks red slowly, it's recording a video. When it blinks red 3 times rapidly, it is powering off or about to power off because of a low battery. When it blinks red and green alternately, it's doing a firmware update. This is the 5G joystick. It's called 5D for 5 directions. You can move the camera up, down, side to side, and you can also push it down. This is the record/shutter button, and right here on the left side is the lanyard holes. On the left side we have the MicroSD card slot. You gently push on the card, pull it out. There is a quick release slot on each side of the camera at the base, and that is used to secure accessories like this handle here we'll talk about in a second. At the bottom of the camera we have a USB-C port. There are several different accessories that come with the camera. This is the handle with a 1/4-inch mount. It makes the camera a little easier to hold. It connects to the USB-C port at the bottom, but you have a port at the back so you can still use it. It secures into the quick slots and is on there securely. If you want to remove it, you push the button. This is the protective cover that comes with the camera, and inside of it, it has spots where you can store your wide-angle lens and a filter. You can even attach the mic to transmitter if you have that right here at the top. Nice and easy. I guess you can use it maybe as a microphone, or if you just want some place to store it. You want to make sure that the camera is off before you place it into the cover. So screen side down, snaps right in. You have a couple of different options to turn on the Pocket 3. You can press the shutter button, hold the shutter button to turn it off. You can also rotate the touchscreen, and you can set it to have the rotating the touchscreen back to turn it off. I don't have it set there, we'll look at that later. Right now I am in video mode. If I push the shutter button, it starts recording. Press it again to stop recording. If I switch into photo mode, press the shutter button to take a picture. The joystick is used to control multiple camera functions. If you press it 3 times, it moves the camera between facing forwards and backwards. If you press it twice, it recenters the gimbal. You can turn it left and right to control the direction of the camera, up and down to control the vertical movement of the camera. And if you're navigating through the features, for example, you can press it once to bring you back to the home screen. And you can also press and hold the joystick, and that locks the gimbal. You tap or swipe on the touch screen to navigate through the camera's functions and settings. You can tap on the icon, tap on live view for focus and metering, swipe down from the top to bring up the control menu, swipe up from the bottom to bring up the shooting parameters, swipe from left to right to bring up the playback view, swipe left from the right to bring up the audio and video parameters. Now I'll go over the icons here on the screen. I am in video mode right now. Up here at the top corner, that is the storage capacity. So right now it says there's 4 hours and 40 minutes worth of recording space on the SD card based on the settings that I have it at. Over here on the other corner is the battery level. If you tap on that, it brings up the percentage. Here in the middle left hand side, this is the smart gimbal modes. We're going to go over those in a little bit. In the lower left hand corner is the current mode. Tap on that, we're seeing video. Here at the bottom is the shooting parameters. So right now it's set to 4K at 30 frames per second. Here in the bottom right hand side is the gimbal rotate. Instead of rotating the gimbal with the joystick, you can tap on that, and that changes the direction the camera is facing. Over here on the right hand side, this controls the camera tilt versus camera zoom. Right now, if I move the joystick up, the camera goes up or it goes down. And if I wanted to zoom in on the image, I would control that using the touch screen. But if you tap on it, now if I use the joystick, it zooms in and zooms out. And if I move the camera up and down using the touch screen. So you can set it to whichever feels right to you. To charge the internal battery on the Pocket 3, you use the provided Type-C to Type-C cable and connect that to a Type-C charger. DJI recommends you use their charger, which is a 30-watt fast charger, but that is sold separately. They claim that if you use their charger, you can get the battery to 80% in 16 minutes and 100% in 32 minutes. Here is what I found when I did my own testing. Looks like we got to fully charged in a little over 24 minutes. Using a standard Type-C charger, it took the camera 1 hour and 55 minutes to fully charge. On this channel, I provide the latest camera news, reviews, and how-tos. Like and subscribe to learn how to get the most out of your camera. Swipe down to access the control menu. I'll start up here in the upper left-hand corner. That's custom modes. Say you want to save a cinematic setting that you can easily get to. You would save it here as a mode. I'll walk through that. So if you're going to do a cinematic setting, let's say you decide to go 4K, but you want to go 24 frames per second. Yes, I go here into manual settings and go manual, and since you are going 24 frames per second, you want over 50 for shutter speed, and you decide for image quality, you want the ISO range to be between 50 and 400. Confirm. So you swipe down here and add. So now that mode's been saved. The 4K, your aspect ratio, your frames per second, the manual settings, those are all saved under that mode. And to access it, you see it's at the very end, and you have your different shooting modes, and you have your custom mode right there. The next function we have here is screen rotate and capture. When this is enabled, when the camera is off, if you rotate the screen, the camera will turn on and immediately start recording, and it will start recording in either the last setting it was on before it was turned off, or immediately start recording video, or immediately set for low light, or immediately set for a hyperlapse, depending on your needs. So we'll demonstrate that. Turn off the camera. So you're out there, you want to quickly start recording, rotate the screen, automatically turns on, and you see here it automatically starts recording. And if you quickly want it in recording and turn it off, rotate the screen back, starts to count down, and turns off. The next function we have is screen brightness. Right now it's at 50%. Let's say you're outside on a bright sunny day, you're going to want to ramp that up so you can see what's on the screen, but generally you want to keep it low so you're not running through any more battery than necessary. In the upper right hand corner we have the function FT Selfie. When that is enabled, the camera will automatically detect your face to make sure it gets the best angle. In the lower left hand corner we have the function for the settings menu, and we're going to go through all the settings in a minute. Right next to it is the function that allows us to switch between landscape and portrait mode. Right now it's set to landscape, and if I were to rotate the screen, it remains in the landscape mode. But if I switch it to portrait, it goes to 3K resolution. Now, even though the screen is in landscape, it's shooting in portrait. And if I rotate the screen, now you have the full screen portrait mode. You tap it again, and now it's doing an auto rotate. So it'll automatically switch between landscape and portrait based on which way the screen is rotated. So now here the screen is horizontal, it's in landscape mode. You rotate the screen, now it automatically switches into portrait mode and back into landscape. The icon that looks like a man running controls the follow speed of the gimbal. When it's set at default, it's about a medium, but you can set it to slow. And you want it set to slow if you want a smooth video, something that's stationary, not moving particularly fast. But you can ramp it all the way up to fast, and that is if you're going to catch maybe like you're running along trying to capture video at a soccer game or something, where you're going to be, the camera's moving fast, the subject's moving fast. That's when you want to leave it at that. And you can tell which one you're in when you go down to the control menu. See, it looks like he's running even faster. If you go and set it to slow, the icon is at a walk, so you can tell at what the follow speed is set without having to go into the menu. The last icon on the lower right hand side is the gimbal mode. There's follow, tilt lock, and FPV. And I have a video here to show you how the camera moves based on which gimbal mode you select. And when it is in follow mode, if you pan from right to left, the camera follows your hand movement. And if you look at the roll axis, you move it to the side and it stays even. And then we go over here to the tilt axis, point the camera down, the lens follows down. And point up, the lens goes up. So it's following the direction of the camera. Now let's go and check out the next gimbal mode. We have tilt locked. So the camera follows when we pan left, right to left. The roll axis stays nice and level. But when we look at our tilt axis here, I'm going to tilt the camera down, but the lens keeps on facing forwards. And you bring it back up straight, faces the same direction, tilt camera up, and our lens still stays nice and straight and forwards. And our last gimbal mode here is FPV. So if we pan from right to left, the lens follows. If we tilt down or up, the lens follows. And here the big difference here is with our roll. So if we roll, instead of staying nice and even, the lens goes with the roll. Now I'll go through the settings menu. The first item we have here is wireless mic. And this is for transmitter 1 and transmitter 2. It is really easy to connect the DJI Mic 2. I'll show you how to connect it now. Press and hold the record button here until it turns solid blue. Okay, now I'm gonna press and hold the link button. There we go, connect it. There's one mic to connect it. We can see the battery level in the mic 2 is 100%. The first item we have here is monitor volume. And you would slide this bar to adjust the volume of the external headphones for monitoring. We have LED. When enabled, the recording status and system status LEDs of the transmitter will blink normally. When disabled, the LEDs will turn off. When vibration is enabled, the transmitter will vibrate when it is powered on, powered off, when it starts recording, stops recording, noise cancellation, mute and unmute. There's auto to video sync. When that's enabled, the transmitter will record audio files independently while the camera is recording the video. The recording audio format for the transmitter is 24-bit mono wave. When recording for an extended period, the audio file will be separated automatically every 30 minutes. The transmitter stops recording when the storage is full. When low cut is enabled, the transmitter will automatically filter low frequencies, making the recording clearer. 32 float recording. When enabled, the transmitter will independently record audio files in 32-bit float, which provides higher dynamic range and post-production audio correction. Format transmitter 1, you would tap that to permanently delete all data on the transmitter. Make sure you would back up any audio files first. Transmitter version displays the firmware version of the transmitter. The next item in the settings menu is gimbal startup direction. If it's set to forward, the camera will face away from you when it's turned on. If it's set to backwards, the camera will be facing towards you. And in last settings, if the gimbal mode is set to follow or tilt locked, the camera will face forward or backwards. If the gimbal mode is FPV, the camera will rotate to resume the same orientation when powered off last time. The next item we have is rotate screen to power off. And when this is turned on, if you rotate the screen up to make it vertical, the camera will turn off immediately after 2 seconds or never. And I will demonstrate that. We'll put it on to now. And we will rotate the camera and it powers off. With slider control, you can have it where the slider on the view screen controls the gimbal or the zoom. Right now it's set to zoom. I'll show you that here. So it's talking about this control here on the right hand side. If I set that, it zooms in like so. Now if we go back into that setting and set it to gimbal, now that same slider is going to control the gimbal. So over here on the right side, slide it up. Now the camera's moving up. Now it is moving down. So you can set that to whichever one you prefer. You would enable selfie flip to obtain a better selfie effect by mirroring the image automatically. The next item we have is built-in audio backup. When this is turned on, it will save audio with video recorded in low light or in slow-mo mode. OTG connection is used if you have an Android device and have a Type-C to Type-C cord for photo and video transfers. Wireless connection, that is used to connect your Pocket 3 to the Mimo app using your phone to be able to do transfers via Wi-Fi. In wearable mode, the camera goes to a POV shot and locks the gimbal, and it's suggested by DJI that you use the camera along with the Pocket 3 extension adapter to get the best first-person viewing experience. If the gimbal is drifting, you can recalibrate it, and when you do that, you want to put it on a flat surface. So that's quick, calibration successful, and you should be all set to go. Joystick speeds allows you to set the zoom speed and gimbal rotation speed controlled by the 5D joystick. A higher value means a higher response sensitivity. I just leave mine at 4, but you can adjust it based on what suits your needs. Under video compression, you can set it to efficiency or compatibility. The efficiency files will be smaller. Under sounds, you can set the volume of the sounds when you're interacting with the camera. So how you'd hear that: medium, low. I like to leave mine at mute, but let's say you leave yours on high, close it out. So when you're going through, reference line is the grid lines that will show up on the screen under photo and video to help make sure that your shot is level and composed correctly. When it's on grid, you have the center 2 down and 2 across, and there's additional grid lines. If you're shooting in 16:9, I'll show you those. Also, they're kind of faint, so we'll see if they come through. So let's hear the grid line there. We'll take away the standard grid lines. And there's a line down here and a line up there. Anti-flicker reduces the flicker caused by fluorescent lights in TVs when recording indoors. You can set it to 50 or 60 hertz based on your region. In the US, you want to put it at 60, or you can just set it to auto. If there was some reason the auto is not working, you can set it to 60 if you're in the US, 50 if you're overseas. You use timecode if you're trying to sync multiple cameras. Naming management allows you to edit the naming rules for storage folders and files. Screen off when recording. That is the amount of time the screen will stay on once you press record before it goes black, but that does not affect the recording at all. Helps save your battery. Have it in as short as 3 seconds, or you can go all the way to never. With auto power off, the camera will automatically turn off after a set period of time of it sitting idle. The max you can set it to is 30 minutes. LED, when this is enabled, the status light will be on above the joystick. If for some reason you want that on, turn it off, and now the status light is off. Continue last live stream. You would tap that to continue the live stream according to the settings of the last time you live streamed, and it gives a note here that live stream is only available using the DJI Mimo app. Under language, select the language that you speak. We have several here. We have format, and here's if you want to reformat your SD card, but if you do that, you'll erase everything that's on there, so don't do that unless you're absolutely sure you've had those videos transferred or you don't want them. Factory reset, That restores the camera back to its factory settings. I don't want to do that. If you're looking for information related to your Pocket 3, like the serial number or firmware version, you would check it in device info. And finally, compliance info. That is just, legal stuff. That's it for the settings. Now we'll move on to the shooting modes. There are 6 shooting modes: panorama, photo, video, low light, slow motion, and time lapse. And we're going to go over all 6 of the shooting modes now. You swipe up from the bottom to set the parameters for each shooting mode. So we have the resolution, the frame rate, and the aspect ratio. You swipe from right to left to enter the image and audio settings. In the settings, there is a basic and a pro mode. This is in pro. It gives you the most flexibility, but let's say you don't want to mess with all that. You do that and it puts you into the basic mode, where you can do the Glamour Effect and your image adjustment, and the camera will automatically take care of everything else. And in the image settings, we can adjust the exposure. Right now it's set to auto, but you can adjust the min and max ISO. Right now it has min ISO of 50, max of 6400, but you can take that all the way down to 50 and 100. Over on the left side, you can adjust the exposure value, or you can go into manual, and in manual mode you can still adjust the ISO, but over here you would adjust the shutter speed. Next, you have the white balance. You have that set to auto, or you can go to manual and adjust it based on the light you have in your environment. I would just leave mine on auto. Next, we have Glamour Effects, and you'd actually adjust that using the Mimo app. I will show you a demo of that right now. Once Glamour Effect is on, all you do is push record, and I'll give it a few seconds here of my face. And you're not going to notice any difference when you're looking at the screen on the Pocket 3. You have to adjust this using the DJI Mimo app. So hey, that's enough video here. I've transferred that clip to my phone into the DJI app, and now we're going to go in here and adjust some of my features. So at the bottom you have the settings, and you'll see down in the lower right hand corner it says beauty, and once you click on that, it opens up all the features. So right now I have it for face clear, cleared away all the settings. You go over here to smooth, and you can see it really taking effect on my face. Then we have slim. If you start sliding that over, increasing it, and you see your face starts to slim out. Go over here to eyes, start maxing it out. The eyes will start to get, let's see, can I see any little difference in the eyes there? You can adjust your mouth. Oh, there we go. You go this way, makes them bigger. Here, makes them smaller. Okay, you can blush the brows. You see what we can do there. We can really thicken them bad boys up. Yeah, so now I'll go ahead and play the clip, and it should keep all those effects on there. And I'll give it a few seconds here of my face. And you're not going to notice any difference when you're looking at the screen on the Pocket 3. You have to adjust this using the DJI Mimo App. Okay, that's enough video here. Next to Glamour Effect, we have the color profile, and there's 3 to choose from. We have normal 10-bit, and here's an example of that. I'll show that same image, but we'll use the color profile HLG, and you'd use this if you are using a HLG compatible monitor or television. And our last color profile is D-Log-M. You'll see an example of that here. And this color profile is flat, and you would use this if you're going to do color correction in post. Below Glamour Effect we have focus mode, and there's 3 focus modes to choose from. There's single, that's if you want to focus on one item, it will keep it in focus. We have continuous, that's where the focus is always going to adjust based on the movement of the item you want to keep in focus. And then we have product showcase mode. That is a cool mode. I will show a demonstration of that right now. So let's say you're doing a product review for your own YouTube channel and you want to show off this camera here. So you go ahead and say, well, this is the new Ace Pro from Insta360, and it brings the camera into focus and blurs everything around it. I pull the camera away, now it's back on my face and sharpens up. And here in the bottom right hand corner is image adjustment, and you can set that to default or you can customize it. And when you customize it, you can adjust your image sharpness and noise reduction. Now we'll go to the audio settings. So you can select a channel, stereo or mono. The wind reduction on or off. And down here we have directional audio. All, that means it's going to pull sounds from all directions. Front, that means it's going to pull audio from directly in front of the camera. And then we have front and back. So it's going to pull audio from the front and back of the camera. That is a setting I leave it on so that way I can catch my voice if I'm narrating and also what's happening out in front of me. If you're in video mode, you can use active track and it works really well. All you would do is find your subject, double tap on the screen. I'll show you my test right now. Okay, auto track enabled. And here, so go over here. Right now, probably about 5 feet away, and it's doing a good job. Yeah, now I'm gonna try, see how far I can go. I turn my face away, see if it can still track me. Turned around facing the camera. And it looks like it still has me. That's pretty good. I'm probably now 15 feet away, and it looks like it's still able to keep me in following me. How it does, picking me up. So right now, came towards me. Get down here. Okay, come back up. And it looks like it picked me back up. When you're in a shooting mode, you have this icon here on the left-hand side, and that's the smart gimbal mode. The first setting you have here is face auto detect. When that is on, the camera will automatically detect your face. That works really well. Next we have dynamic framing, and I will show you a demo of that right now. The dynamic framing helps with shot composure. So I have it set to keep this statue on the left third of the frame, and as I move around it keeps it right where I asked it to be as I'm moving around. Okay, so you see how well that works. The last smart gimbal mode we have here is SpinShot, and the camera will rotate, providing a spin effect. The next shooting mode we'll look at is low light, and in low light the camera will automatically adjust the settings for a low light environment. We'll swipe up to see the differences between normal video and low light video. So we have less resolution options. We have 4K and 1080p, and we have a max frames per second of 30, min of 24. And if we swipe over to the image settings, though there is no setting for color profile and there is no image adjustment setting. And the audio is just like ordinary video. The next shooting mode we'll look at is slow motion. and swipe up to see the shooting parameters. So we can do 4K all the way down to 1080p, and the resolution affects the speed of the slow motion. At 1080p you can slow it all the way down to 240 frames per second, but you take it up to 4K and now the max speed is 120 frames per second. And if we swipe over to see the image and audio parameters, we do not have the Glamour Effect. And for the audio features are all the same. After slow motion, we have Timelapse. And we'll swipe up and we have a few different options to choose from. There's a hyperlapse. With a hyperlapse, that is to shoot a moving time lapse, and you can leave that at auto, or you can adjust the hyperlapse based on the look you're going for. I find the auto works really well. Then you can do a standard time lapse. It has a preset settings based on what you're looking for a time lapse of a crowd, clouds moving through the sky, the sunset, or you can do a custom setting. Swipe up, and how this works is you decide the shooting interval you want, how long you want to do it for, and then that gives you your video duration. So if it takes a photo every 8 seconds for 2 hours, that's going to give you a 30-second video. Then we have a motion lapse, and motion lapse is a cool feature. I will show a demo right after I talk about this. So you could set it where the camera moves from left to right, catching a time lapse, or from right to left, or you can do a custom motion and it will move in any direction you want. You swipe up to set the parameters just like you would with the time lapse, you know, the intervals, the recording time, your video duration, and I will show a demo of the motion lapse now. Let's say you want to get a moving time lapse of that construction happening at that building there on the right. If we can get some guys or equipment moving around, that would be awesome. They're going to go up and you can kind of take it across the cityscape. That'd be a cool motion lapse. So what you do is you swipe up and we want a motion lapse. And so LTR is moving from left to right. RTL is moving from right to left. And we want custom motion. Let's adjust the parameters. We want to record for 30 minutes and taking a picture every 2 seconds. That's going to be a 30-second clip. That should work for our purposes. You take the joystick, move it to where you want it to go. So we want to start, you know, down here at the street. Set that. Then we want it to, you know, go up here to the top of the construction. Set that. And then we want it to move across over to this building. Okay. If you do a traditional time lapse, you go over to your image and audio settings. You have your image settings here, but there is no audio setting when you're doing a traditional time lapse or motion lapse. Okay, that's it for the video modes. Now we'll check out the photo modes. So we go here to photo, swipe up. You can adjust your aspect ratio and set a countdown timer. Swipe over to the image settings. You can do your manual auto exposure. your white balance, format JPEG or JPEG in a RAW file, and the RAW file is going to be bigger, have more information, and typically that's going to be the same file you want to use if you're going to do color correcting. We have the focus mode, single or continuous, and there is no audio since we're not taking any video. Now we'll look at the panorama shooting mode. So you swipe up and you can do a 180-degree photo, or you can do a 3x3 photo, and you can set a countdown timer. You swipe over for the image settings. You can do the manual auto exposure, you can do the manual auto white balance, you can do JPEG or a RAW file for the images, and you can do continuous and single focus modes. The camera does a really great job doing panoramas. You can see an example of that here. The Pocket 3 can shoot perfect panoramics, and you don't have to worry about keeping that little arrow on the line. There are two panoramic modes, 180 degrees and 3x3. The DJI app is pretty good. You use it to keep your Pocket 3 up to date as far as firmware. You can take a look at your photos, and just about every feature that you can control on the camera, you can control with the app. So it connects really easy. Make sure the camera is on. And when you do that, go over to device. It's going to search for it here. Found it. Connect. Yes, if it wants to join. Yep. Okay, so once it's connected, you can see what the camera is looking at. You can go through and go to low light, slow motion, time lapse, hyperlapse. And so you can do all those features there. But I want to test out here how quickly it can transfer photos. That way, if you want to do any editing or posting for social media, go over to albums. Just did a time lapse. And if we want to download it, there's a little download icon here in the bottom right hand corner. If we want to do the full download, and it's getting started, and this is only a 30-second clip, but it did it really fast there. So now we're able to see the image in its full resolution. That's all the settings and features for the Osmo Pocket 3. I hope this video was helpful. To see my full review of the Pocket 3, check out this video.